Welcome back to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. March 20th marked the 22nd anniversary of the Iraq War. Returning to Capitol Review is John Byrnes. He's the Strategic Director for Concerned Veterans for America. John, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Always good to talk to you.
It's always good to talk to you. Right now, of course, you know the United States still has military members in Iraq. How many remain in the country, and is there still a risk for our men and women?
Well, best reporting is that there are 2,500 or so troops still in Iraq on a train and advise mission. And, of course, anytime troops are deployed, there's always a risk. I'd say the risk is still pretty moderately high. Those troops come under drone attacks and mortar attacks and similar attacks fairly consistently. And if you look at the region, in Jordan, just last year on the border of Jordan and Syria, Tower 22, we lost 3 young Army reservists called up from their civilian life to serve as reservists overseas. So there's still a moderately high risk. Anytime we're overseas, bad things can happen, and it's a bad neighborhood there in Iraq and Syria.
John, what do you want history to tell us about what the Iraq War was all about?
It's a very complicated history. I think history today shows that it was a war of choice. It was an unnecessary war. It was predicated on some dishonesty, some frankly lies that were told, or deep misunderstandings, beliefs that were ingrained in some of the leadership, and it was sold to the American people. And we committed to now 22 years there. In some respects, we've been there for 30 years, but certainly in 2003, it really stepped up. Our involvement there with hundreds of thousands of troops at the height of the surge. 4,000 plus American lives lost there. Many, many, many more lost to suicide. I know 2 folks I served with overseas have taken their own lives in the meantime. So history is not going to be very kind to the war, to those who prosecuted it at the beginning.
And John, you're calling for to end boots on the ground missions in Iraq. How so, and what does this mean for the United States in the Middle East?
Well, as I've said to other people, right now it seems like we're leading with our chin, right? We have 2,500 vulnerable troops in northern Iraq. They're obviously within Iranian missile range. They're subject to drone, missile, mortar, terror attacks. We have over-the-horizon capabilities with the Navy and the Air Force. We have satellite intelligence. We have the ability to rapidly deploy forces, our expeditionary forces, airborne, air assault, marine. We know all this, and yet we insist on keeping 2,500 troops there on a train and advise mission. We've already agreed with the Iraq government last year in 2024 to withdraw those. We're just looking for the current administration, the Trump administration, to stick to that withdrawal agreement and the timetable. And I hope to see all those troops home within the next couple of months.
John, speaking of the current administration, especially the DOGE efforts to cut costs with a lot of federal agencies, of course, the VA has been a topic of conversation. Are you concerned as the administration moves forward that our men and women will get the quality care that they've earned if more cuts are made, especially to the Department of Veterans Affairs?
Well, as you know, Mark, I've been concerned about the quality of care that men and women at the VA have been getting for a long time. And in fact, our solution has always been to try and give those veterans the options of community care. We've long called for right-sizing the VA at Concerned Veterans for America. That's at cv4a.org on the web, letters and numbers, cv4a.org. You can read about our VA positions there. We've been concerned for a long time. We want to see it right-sized. We want to see its budget the right size. We want to see the right number of facilities and the right balance between care inside the system and care in the community. And that should be at the needs and the preference of the veterans, whether that's in or outside the system.
John Byrnes, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on. It's always good to talk to you and your audience.